Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Thriving Minds podcast with your host, Walter Parada, where we strive to provide you with empowering talks so you can live to thrive. I hope you find yourself in the right frame of mind, focusing on all the things within your control. All right, so today's episode is a follow-up about reconnecting with an estranged family member. So if you heard that previous episode, part of that was me wanting to reconnect with my father, who I haven't seen in 15 years. So I had the plan of going back to Florida and visiting my mom. And for some years now, I've been thinking, I need to reconnect with him. I think I'm in a good place to support him from a distance and just get over past things that we dealt with. So prior to about a week going to Florida, I reached out to him. I just texted him. I said, "Hey, Dad, I'm going to be in Florida. I want to see you. Would that work for you?" And he said, "Yeah." So we had about an 11-minute phone conversation a few days after, just filling each other up on how life's been going. And honestly, it went quite well. So I was excited to go ahead and see him again. So I already was having pretty low expectations of how I was going to see him and the shape that he was going to be. So when I went to go visit him, he was actually in a lot better health condition than what I anticipated. Honestly, he looked the same from the last time I seen him, which I think is a good thing. I had very low expectations. I thought his health was going to be very poor, but the initial reaction between us two was just happy to see each other. He said, just wow, that obviously I've changed. I've grown so much since the last time I seen him. But I was super excited to see him. We hugged each other for a little while, and just the moment seemed really surreal, very joyous. And honestly, I was so prepared for that moment. I was quite surprised how prepared I was, where it wasn't too much for me to handle. And it just seemed like the right time, the right fit to go ahead and reconnect with him. So that first day, he doesn't live in the best situation, but he's making do with what he has. And I told him, "Hey, Dad, let's go out to dinner." And it was about 7 o'clock at that time, but he just said he had a kind of a rough job. So, and this was on a weekday, I think it was on a Wednesday. So he says, "How about next time?" Where he could, I don't know, maybe it was just too much for him. So I just went along with it. I said, "All right, well, at least I got to see you." And then about a week later, we settled on a day where we're going to go out to eat. And I asked him, "So where you want to go eat?" And he says, "No place fancy, somewhere where we could eat outside." And I said, "Come on, Dad, let's really go to a place that we can enjoy." And when I picked him up that day, at first, he's like, "Let's just go to KFC." And I said, "No, come on, let's do something better than that. Let's do something more memorable." So we ended up going to this place that we used to go to as a kid. He'd take my sister and I. It's called Wings and More, and it was our favorite spot that we would go to. Obviously, the chicken wings were just damn good. So yeah, he was excited. He's like, "All right, let's go eat there." And in the car, he was just kind of talking over how he felt prior to me coming. He was not feeling very well, but he says some very inspiring words where he says now he has new life. Maybe he did feel abandoned, and I kind of felt that, and that's why I wanted to get back in his life, get back in each other's lives, because it's going to do us good. And I felt it has already so far. So once we got to the parking lot, opened the door, it was just a rush of that strong aroma of the chicken wing smell that I always remembered as a kid when my dad would take us there. And it just brought back so many different memories, so many just good times that I got to relive. And, the place is still relatively the same. Same cook, same server, same interior design. And I appreciate that. It's a little bit run down, but they've made a few updates to it to, keep it attractive. But it's mainly had that same appeal, that same environment, the same smell. So that was great. And then, and I asked them, all right, so what kind of flavors you want? Because we were gonna order in bulk. I think we are gonna order like 50 wings, and he says whatever I like. And I said, no, come on, Dad. He's like, I'm just happy to have your company, and that really meant a lot. It was just, gosh, it was just so fantastic. Obviously, like I said before, my expectations were really low going into this, but his whole can-do attitude really opened me up, so I wasn't as defensive. But eventually, we settled on three flavors of wings. It was mild, honey barbecue, and garlic, just to kind of throw something new into the mix. And man, we sat at the booth where we usually sit at. They still have all the TVs with whatever sports game is going on, so that was great. And a few changes. I remember my dad, before he could handle the hot, intense flavors, and now not so much. And so that's why we settled on the mild wings. But the conversations that we had were just great. We avoided rehashing any past issues that we had with each other. And honestly, it was more like just a mutual agreement of, all right, we're going to move forward with our relationship on a good note. So that made me really happy. And my dad, kind of delved into like him bringing us to the wing spot. And initially, he just thought, hey, I'm gonna take my son here and let's see if he likes it. And he just says the first time I brought him there, I was almost mesmerized by the whole environment. We walked in and he said that my eyes got really big. I was really excited and just really quiet. And at that moment, my dad said, yeah, I think this is our spot. And it's kind of fitting. I really didn't have the intention of going to Wings and More, just because I kind of wanted to create new memories and not try to fall into the nostalgia of what used to be. But it was a great spot to have settled on, to have picked. And yeah, he just said that he could tell that was going to be our spot. And honestly, I still consider that our spot. It was a great way to rekindle this relationship between father and son. There was even a time where I must have been, I don't know, 7 years old, he said, and he asked me where I want to go to eat. And I told him I want to go to Wings and More. And I honestly, I don't remember this time, but he's telling me the story. And he says it was packed that day. It was a Saturday, and it was during football season. So obviously a lot of people want to, have wings and beer and watch the game. And I think the hostess, they gave us a estimated time frame about 40 minutes. And my dad, he kind of got impatient, and he says, how about we just go to McDonald's and, get something really quick? And he said I was defiant. I was like resolute and said, no, this is the place where I want to eat. We'll wait. I don't care how long, but I want wings. And I kind of, I'm kind of taken aback a bit because, I can see where my resoluteness comes from, my bit of hard headedness or determination, and kind of set on going after what I want. And it was so awesome to hear that story because it shows like the care inside of my dad where he put aside what he wanted, which was something quick to eat, to get in and out. And he says, you know what, if my son wants to eat here, then we'll wait. But that was such a awesome story to have heard. And, it reemphasizes, some good things about the relationship that we have and that we're going to have going forward. In the past, my dad and I really wouldn't talk a whole lot, but this conversation, it was like just the right amount of words that were said to each other. We enjoy our wings and then talk about some of the good times. You know, I used to play hockey, and my dad would be the one that would always be taking me to practice. And he even told me a story. Oh man, I must have been, I don't know, 9, 10 years old. But he had kind of this old car, and on the way to practice, it broke down. And he said that I told him that I don't care what you got to do, but you got to take me to practice. I got to be there. And he just laughed. And I also laughed when he told me the story, but I don't remember any of this. And he just says, like, you kind of, like, I kind of have this way of, like, getting in focus of, like, when I want something, I'm committed to it. So that was, really cool to hear. But then I asked him, I said, Dad, so did I get to practice that day, or did you get me to practice? And he says he doesn't remember exactly what happened, but he always remembered that kind of resoluteness when I was just a kid. It was so funny. And it was so fitting that the waitress that always would serve us was still there. And then my dad asked her, "Do you remember me?" And she kind of takes a step back and she says, "Oh yeah, after, looking at him, she says, you still look kind of the same." And she'd remember the types of wings that he'd order, and they had like all these different flavors. But she says, "Yeah, you would get the extra hot and sometimes the extra wet, which would be, just a little bit more hot sauce on it." And then he says to her, "Do you remember my son?" And she says, "Not very much, because obviously what she pictured is different from, who I am or what I look like now." But that was really cool to have, kind of relived. It was, we did obviously feel the nostalgia, the greatness of that. But what's good about it is that we didn't just live in that moment, live in the past. We were still enjoying the present. And he just says, "I'm just so happy to be here right now with you." And when he was talking about that, he got emotional, really water-eyed, and me too. And it was just so great to kind of reconnect because he was a significant part of my life, obviously, and I still want him to be a significant part of my life going forward. We'll be there for each other in the good and the bad. And I can see the change from what he used to be to how he is now. Like, while he's not in the best of situation, I think mentally he's in a better state of mind, where before he'd kind of dwell on the past about the things that have happened to him or didn't happen to him. And now he's more focused on, we got to move forward with the hand that we're dealt with the situation that we're in. So that was inspiring for me to have heard that from him, because before I'd kind of want to avoid him because he kind of go down the self-pity hole. So that was just so awesome to have heard him say those kinds of things. What could have made the situation a lot better was obviously if my sister would have been there, and that would have been a great time for her to have wanted to have, reconnect with my father, at least see him. But prior to me going there, I think I told her 2 or 3 days before, I said, "Hey, I'm gonna go see Papi. You want to come with me?" And she politely says no. So I was like, okay, yeah, she's not ready. So yeah, on her terms, if she ever wants to. And I even mentioned this to my dad. Maybe next time my sister can come with us, and we can sit down, have something to eat, and he's like, that's fine. I understand. If she wants to, she'll want to see me. But if not, then that's okay. So hearing that was, really comforting as well to know that he can handle that. So yeah, it was super super beneficial. Obviously, it surpassed my expectations of what the whole experience was going to be like. Obviously, I had very low expectations of the condition that he was going to be in and the interaction that we were going to have. Honestly, my dad is not confrontational. He's not aggressive. He's very much, go with the flow. So maybe it wasn't too surprising that it did go well, but I just hadn't seen him in 15 years, so I didn't know how much different he was going to be. But yeah, I still see the good qualities in him that I got to enjoy before. And he mentions, I'm getting older, and I tell him, Dad, we're getting wiser. And he kind of laughs and he says, well, trying. So that's, really good to hear. And obviously we got pictures. The waitress was sweet enough to, take father and son photos, and that's a good stamp on the time that we got to spend together. And prior to this, I talked to my mom about it because we speak every weekend. And prior to me coming, about a week ahead of time, I said, Mom, I'm ready to see my dad. And her immediate reaction was like, okay, if you're ready, then you go for it. He's your father. And it's good that you're ready to go see him. So, once I got back from the dinner, well, prior to the dinner, she, was a bit nervous to see how it would go. And then after she asked me how to go, I said, Mommy, it went really well. It surpassed my expectations. Honestly, we just enjoyed each other's company over good food. I told her we went to Wings and More, and we just moving forward with our relationship. And she says, I'm super happy that you did this and that it went that way. So she was a big supporter in whatever decision I decide. And, just like with my sister, she says, if she wants to go, good. And if not, then, well, maybe one day she'll be ready. And if not, then that's okay. But I like how my mom just lets things be. Even my father, same thing. He kind of just lets things be and is not meddling too much or meddling at all of what their kids should be doing, even though we're adults now. But I just loved how it was just so accepting. We really didn't need to say I'm sorry or anything like that. Um, I'm just, gosh, I'm just super excited that I got to do it. I got to see him. My plan is to, you know, speak to him every now and then. Just, hey, Dad, hey, Papi, how are you? Just checking in to see how's everything going, and those can make a big difference. Those little phone calls, and especially for me, it makes me feel good to know that, you know, he's mov- that he's moving forward with his life, trying to do well. What was interesting too, when I dropped him off at his place, he says, "Do you got a little bit of time?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah," because he asked me, "I want you to meet somebody," and it was a neighbor down the street, and he says, "This guy helped me in my low times, and I just want to present him to you." He told me he was like his mentor, it helped him, get back on his feet. And when I met the guy, his name was Memo, and it was super exciting to have met him, because even though I wasn't there to help my dad in his time of need, it's great to see that, he made other connections, other friendships to better his life. And my dad just told him, when he met the guy, he was at a really low point in his life. He didn't talk too much, but I'm assuming he, you know, got him a place to stay. Um, maybe even helped him get a job. I'm pretty sure he did. But that was really cool to have met him. If you're thinking about reconnecting with an estranged family member, I encourage you to do so, but on your terms, right? On your own time, whenever works for you. Obviously, my situation kind of came out ideal. So, for those that are expecting the same thing, just know that each situation is different. Um, it may not go well, but at least when you do reach out, or or you do or you do try to reconnect, where you meet them somewhere and it doesn't turn out well, at least you have the satisfaction of knowing that you tried. You're probably going to learn something from it. Um, those are part of the growing pains that we all go through. So I encourage you to, if you're really thinking about it, reach out to those to any of those family members that you might have lost touch with for whatever reason. Maybe it might serve you well to, discuss past things and try to resolve them, or maybe not. It's entirely what works for you. As long as you can be at peace with yourself, then that's a great place to start. Sometimes all a person really needs is uh, the need, hearing our voices, or just, I don't know, just reaching out to them, because it might change their outlook for the better. So really consider reconnecting with them. And it doesn't even have to be right now. It can, be months in advance, a year in advance, a couple years in advance. Because honestly, for me, back in 2019, I was already thinking about, you know what, I need to see my father. Man, I'm probably not ready. And at that time, I don't think I was ready. Just, mentally, emotionally, uh, still some anger towards him. But as the years went by, that lessened, and I've developed myself personally a lot more, so I was better equipped to handle it. So just condition your mind, uh, have scenarios of how things can play out, the good, the bad, the ugly, everywhere in between. Um, Kind of walk through each scenario. If things, if things go bad, how you can redirect conversations, how you can where it's minimizing the destructive or the negativity. Certain things, maybe it may be beneficial to go through that ugly stuff because it can help work through some of those past issues that you might be dealing with. And obviously, if it comes out ideal, then that's great. But just come away with it, view it as a opportunity to grow, to be better, to be a better person. Because honestly, I feel a whole lot better in every sense. It's good to see him that he's doing all right and that we're going to be in each other's lives. So really reconsider reconnecting with an estranged family member because, it can help let go of some anger, some resentment, and it clears up some mental blocks and emotional blocks, obviously. So you're just better prepared to handle whatever comes your way. So yeah, it went really well for me, and I'm glad I did. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're interested in more topics like this, become a Thriving Minds member at www.thrivingminds.live. It's your personal development resource so you can build that right mindset and live to thrive. All right, until next time.